Singing Colt 45 and a 2-digit victory over the Clemson Tigers. It's one heck of a Friday. Let's roll.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Friday show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 back in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started today. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, a lot to celebrate here on Friday's show. We got our first basketball commitment in what felt like an eon. It was Colt Langdon, formerly of the Butler Bulldogs, but he's a Raleigh kid. We spoke about Colt just a little bit yesterday. Raleigh kid, went to Millbrook High School, became the all-time scoring leader in just 3 years there, reclassified a year early, went to Butler, didn't play, entered the transfer portal, right back home in Raleigh. It's a homecoming for Colt Langdon. He's joining up with Will Wade, the American gangster. We spoke about what he may mean to this team, which is most likely some front court depth. But Kenton, how significant is it to see pen to paper on this one?
I mean, it's good to get anybody across the finish line at this point. You and I have talked a bunch about how, hey, things have been quiet. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Colt Langdon is a big enough name in the college basketball world to where like, oh, this is a guaranteed first domino. Now that other guys are seeing him, they're going to join up. But what I will say is I don't understand some of the pessimism surrounding Colt. I really and truly don't, because again, this is a guy that has shown himself to be a special talent. And even if you're saying, hey, he's not ready physically to play yet, well, did Will Wade not say we want to develop guys in our system for 3 to 4 years? We want to have 1 or 2 showstoppers and have a bunch of guys that we develop. Is there not already a showstopper in the class? So why are you expecting 4, 5, 6 showstoppers per class if Will Wade specifically said that's not how we're building our team? You know, so again, Colt, good depth piece. And the other part of this, I think that some of us have forgotten we live in a universe where if you're watching and listening to this show and you are cognizant and like, you know, you have fully formed memories and your frontal lobe is even on its way to being fully formed. Like you're right there on the precipice of that, which is the age 25. That means that you watched with good eyes a front court that consisted of some players that were just like, well, damn, there's nobody left, kinda. I guess we got to get somebody. We watched players that were of that ilk and caliber, not just play big minutes for State. That's what we watched. We saw that. And now, we're less than a decade removed from that. We believe that every single player we land is going to be the next coming or a first-round draft pick. Why? That's not how this ball game works. Again, great pickup. Welcome back home, Mr. Langdon. I hope you do extremely well, Coach. I'm rooting for you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get that everybody's very tightly wound at the moment because they want to see Will Wade land big fish and they want to join in on the reckoning and see NC State start to get really exciting in the transfer portal space. I totally get that. But I agree with you. I think some of the takes I've seen on Colt Langdon, why are you going out of your way to be overtly negative about a hometown kid coming back to Raleigh and had a lot of success when he was here last? Because I want to reiterate basically what Kenton was saying. We're not going to get Karl Anthony Towns out of the portal. We're not going to get Anthony Davis or LeBron James to come here to play to NC State. Not every single piece that you get from the portal is going to be an All-American, All-ACC first-round draft pick. That's not how it works. What you need to build out an entire roster is you're going to have depth pieces. And if that's all that Colt Langdon turns out to be this season, then fine. I think this is a good get if that's what you're after. This is a kid that's homegrown, and I think that's another important aspect to roll into all of this. If you're Will Wade coming into the state of North Carolina, which is obviously known as what? The Hoop State. You want to keep homegrown talent right here in Raleigh. Think about all the names, and again, okay, I'm not comparing Colt Langdon to like John Wall, but the concept remains there. Think about all the names that came out of Raleigh but went elsewhere, whether it's John Wall or Devontae Graham, DJ Horn before he came back to Raleigh. All these guys that are going elsewhere to try and play their college basketball, with the right coach, you can keep some of that talent right here in Raleigh. And again, I'm not extrapolating Colt Langdon here, but the concept is still linear. So I think it's important on that front as well to keep a hometown kid here, because clearly he wants to be here. He knows the area. I'm sure his friends are now over the moon that they're going to get to watch him play at NC State. This team very obviously needed front court depth, and you are getting that with Colt Langdon. If he turns out to be a developmental piece, then what's the downside of that? Again, like I just truly, I don't see a downside virtually at all. You want to talk budget aspect. Can't imagine he's that expensive. I mean, he has not played at the college level yet. He went to Butler this year, did not play. He redshirted. How much value does a guy like that attract? And I say that all respectfully, but it is what it is. He's not breaking your bank. He provides depth in the front court, and there's a bigger meaning to bringing him home. If you're still finding ways to get negative about that, that's on you. That's your own problem. This is a good get to have, and then you move on to the next one. So we're very happy to have Colt back here in Raleigh. He's going to be a part of the first iteration of the Will Wade reckoning, and that should be enough for folks. So you're getting depth. You wanted depth. You got depth in Colt Langdon. Another name to watch here. We've already been speaking a lot about Terrence Arseno. I feel really good about where that's at, which I've been saying, pretty much consistently. He was here at State last week for a visit. Then Easter happened and went to UVA for 3 days. By all accounts, including UVA accounts, it sounds like Terrence Arseno will be one of the next few to ink and sign the paper and put on the red and white for NC State. I don't have an exact timeline for when to expect that, but I do expect it soon. If it happens on Friday, wouldn't be surprised. Happens on Saturday, wouldn't be surprised. But I say all that to say, I feel really good that Terrence Arseno will be the next commitment to NC State basketball. And what does that mean? We talked a lot about him as well. This is a previous top 40, top 45 player in the country coming out of high school 3 years ago. 3 years in a Kelvin Sampson program down at Houston, a program that just made it to the national championship. There's a lot to be said about that level of experience. Terrence Arseno, I saw a lot of people concerned about his I saw a lot of concern about his injury that held him out. I saw a lot of concern about his injury that held him out for some of this season. He did tear his Achilles in December of 2023, so we're looking at over a year and a half ago. So he's getting back to full health. Achilles injuries, they take a long time. One of my personal buddies tore his Achilles just playing pickup basketball. Sucks. It's going to take him a long time to recover if you are a D1 athlete or not a D1 athlete. That's just kind of the shake of the draw. So he's going to be back into full health by the time he gets to NC State over the summer. And I tell you what, Kenton, that's a very good get, very underrated get, I think, for this group. I told you yesterday, I think he could be like the ACC Sixth Man of the Year. I stand by that. I am over the moon excited about what Terrence Arseno brings to Raleigh.
Yeah, as somebody with 2 surgically repaired Achilles myself, I can tell you firsthand.
Right.
I can tell you firsthand that the first one, you're generally okay. You're good. You can come back. You can bounce back from that one. 2 and beyond is where things get a little bit dicey in terms of losing your explosiveness and kind of being a reduced form of what you used to be in terms of spring and bounce and all that good stuff. I'll tell you this. I would be very excited about Arseno. And again, at this point in time, this is first iteration. We are putting together a roster and all that. I'd be excited about it. I'm not expecting every player that is landed to be a super high-profile guy. But even with Arseno, I believe he's in the top 10 best available in terms of players in the portal. So, I'd be very excited about him.
High energy guy. He can score it. He can defend at a very high level, can rebound, do anything that you need to win basketball games. Arseno coming from Houston, which is perennially a very strong program in college basketball. That means something. Kind of in the same note that we talked about Trey Holloman coming from Michigan State, which is a tough program. I think you get a very similar feeling with Terrence Arseno coming from Houston. So if that does come to fruition here on Friday, I think there's a lot to celebrate on that. Terrence Arseno, even if you're not really privy to who he is, get privy. He is very talented and a very good get for NC State as we continue to move forward to even bigger commitments here coming down the road. Talked a little bit about James Scott on Thursday's episode. That's another one. I feel good. Don't know when we'll see additional movement on that front. But again, I don't think he'd enter the portal if it wasn't something serious on NC State's side. So Colt Langdon, welcome home. Welcome to the Wolfpack. Terrence Arseno, we're going to watch that one very intently here on Friday. Certainly think that NC State will be able to get the job done and bring Terrence to Raleigh as well. Coming up next, we're getting into the Pac-9's Game 1 win over Clemson, a complete and utter domination. What does this mean for the rest of this weekend? More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Friday sponsor is Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices, no console required. Just grab your paired controller and subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included. And just like that, you're ready to play. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports, College Football 25, and Call of Duty Black Ops 6. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's made gaming simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and so much more. You can play high-quality Xbox games at the fraction of a cost of a console. If you already have a console, a Fire TV 4K stick device is both more affordable and easier to travel with. Head on over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller is required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. Head on over to Amazon Fire TV and start your gaming. Middle portion of our Friday show, time to talk some Pac-9 baseball. What a night on Thursday night. Second-ranked Clemson came to town. We talked all week about this, and the Pac-9 put it on them. I love that this series began with Will Wade throwing out the first pitch against Clemson, which, if you didn't know, is his alma mater. I thought that was perfectly timed out by NC State. Just a little bit of extra flavor on what is, or supposed to be, one of the best college baseball series of the entire weekend. But NC State came out and flat laid it on them. This was a 14-4 victory in just 8 innings due to the run rule. It got a little bit dicey there in the top of the first with Dom Fritton losing a little bit of control. And I thought it was kind of interesting that you saw both halves of what makes the full pie of Rom-Com Dom. When he gets a little bit out of control and puts guys on base, you saw instantly where that can get him into trouble. A 2-run home run right there in the first inning. And you're like, oh boy, here we go again. The Pac-9 are going to have to battle from behind. Didn't take very long, though. Bottom of the first, 3 runs of our own. And then for NC State, it was pretty much off to the races. We scored every single inning from the first to the 5th inning. And Aiden Kanak, the starting pitcher for Clemson, is one of the better pitchers in the entire conference. We gave him his worst outing, not of the season, of his entire career. I believe he gave up 11 hits and 8 earned runs. That's the worst night he's ever had in a Clemson uniform. NC State handled this game exactly the way that I painted the picture on Thursday's episode. You needed to come out early, attack him early, be aggressive early, and if you do all of that, you give yourself a really good shot as long as Dom is handling his business. This game played out probably even better than I could have expected. 14-4 domination, Kenton. What are your thoughts?
This is how you start the series. This is how you set the tone. This is exactly what was needed. I mean, Wolfpack Nation showed up and showed out in full force. From what I heard, everything was that the dope was rocking. That is absolutely what you want to see in this type of situation. Because again, you know, people talk about, oh, this is a postseason atmosphere. Oh, this is pretty much every sport now in college has playoffs or tournaments of some sort. This is a playoff atmosphere. You felt it. You felt it. And clearly the team felt it. Clearly this team, you talk about, you've seen both sides around come down. Yes, there were the early runs, but how many runs did he end up giving up his entire stint there?
He gave up 4 in total, 2 in the first and 2 attached to him in the 5th. But in between that, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, he was cruising. That's where the second half of the Dom show really came out to play. I thought he was excellent in those middle innings, ran into some trouble, but all in all, he gave you a good enough performance for the offense to steal the show.
But that's my point, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if Dom Fritton, if this bullpen can hold teams to 4 runs, I'm fine with that.
Yes.
I'm fine with that. If the goal is, hey, every game is going to be a race to 5, Is this not what we were expecting coming into the season? Is this not what we were saying? Hey, this team will be very, very heavily pitching reliant. We saw it. But 14 damn runs against the number 2 team in the nation, against a guy that was up for all conference, giving him the absolute blues. I mean, B.B. King hopped up out his grave and said, who's that playing my tunes now? You know, this is the type of thing that you absolutely love to see from Pac-9 here. Again, decided victory, but job's not finished. Job's not finished. You set a good tone, but just because you set a good tone does not mean that you can relinquish everything that you built in game 1. Wolfpack Nation keeps showing up. Pac-9 keeps showing up. We're going to get this. We're going to get us a series win here. Maybe, potentially, talk about bringing out some brooms Saturday. I don't know.
For a Thursday evening, I thought the crowd was very impressive, and that only means it's surely going to be even better on Friday and Saturday. And now that you have a series win potentially in your scope, bring the energy, pack the doke. You should not need any more evidence to get your behind out to the doke and will this team to a series victory over second-ranked Clemson. A couple more things here. Offensively here in game 1, Ty Head, difference maker. He's been a difference maker all year, but his hustle plays in a game like this one, they show up in a major way. Stretching a single into a double and putting runners in scoring position, those are the types of plays that win you ball games. But not to mention, when you have a guy that goes 5 for 5 with 2 bombs like Braden Fraseman did, what in the world just got into him? The best game that we've seen in quite a long time, probably since that one dude that wore 47 that will not be named on this program. Braden Fraseman, have yourself a night, young fella. 5 for 5, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. Literally half of our runs were accounted from number 2 in the red and white. Spectacular performance. Don't look now, but I think Alex Sosa's heating up as well. He tallied another game with 3 hits. This team, man, they looked like an Omaha-bound team. This team dominated. Again, dominated. Get it? Sorry. 14-4 over second-ranked Clemson. That is, to Kenton's point, that's how you set the tone. That's how you let Clemson know, no, this series ain't like all the other ones that you've been winning. We're going to show you something different this weekend in Raleigh. Now I want to talk about Anderson Nance. Good Lord. What planet did this kid come from? 4 innings of relief, 7 punch-outs, only surrendered 4 hits. He looks like Jacob Duden did last year, so I guess we're just going to become a factory of like all-American caliber freshman pitchers. Fine by me. You won't hear me complain, but
I'm not
Anderson Nance was humming on Thursday night. I think his fastball got up to 97 a couple different times. His slider looked extra snappy, maybe just purely adrenaline. If you keep running that kid into these pressure situations, he's going to deliver like this. Those are the types of performances that can take you all the way to Omaha. So you could not be happier about what you saw from the Pac-9 on Thursday night. They pounded out 19 hits over one of the better pitching staffs in the ACC for Clemson. And now I want to go back to what Kenton said. As soon as the clock hit midnight from Thursday going to Friday, wipe it. This game no longer matters. Just block it from memory. Because the runs on Thursday, they don't mean squat. I was going to say a bad word. Squat on Friday. Nothing. This game no longer matters. The same way that Louisville beat the brakes off us, or Virginia beat the brakes off us, or Arkansas back in 2021. Guess how those series ended? NC State won. Don't be the inverse in this situation. You run ruled Clemson, doesn't matter. Shake it. We have to go and get game 2. Then if you get game 2 and you win the series, go for the kill. Go for the sweep on Saturday. That's all that matters. Do not let up now. How could I possibly end this without shouting out Raleigh's Red yet again? One of our favorite follows on Twitter, willing Wolfpack Nation to get to the doke. Listen to the man. He's doing it for good reason. This team needs us. This is one of the most important series of the season, and they just literally started it off with a bang. Game 1 victory, 14-4 over Clemson. I personally say don't waste any more time. Go get game 2 and then find a way to sweep on Saturday. These are the types of games and series victories, hopefully, that put you into the hosting conversation. Not to mention, you're also going to sneak up a little bit higher in the ACC standings, which is now more important than ever because you've gone away from the pool play system and the top 4 seeds get that double bye. So very valuable games, 14-4 in game 1. Love it. Want some more of it. Coming up next, we're getting into Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Friday sponsor is FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are now here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you can get $250 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many different ways to bet all of your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for the chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head on over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Only on FanDuel. Last couple minutes of our Friday show. Now time for Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. Here we go. First one comes from Kevin W. He said, I think Langdon starts off as depth, but feel like he could be a kid who you'll see his game grow over the next couple years. You have to have a mix of talent and roles. This would be a good pickup. I'm hearing Darion Williams rumors, and as someone married to a Texas Tech alum, yeah, last year's first-round game tested our marriage, LOL. I see a lot of Williams. He'd be an incredible get. I don't have the sense that State will land him, but he's out there as another candidate. So, yes, a lot going on in this one. Kind of similar to what we were talking about with Colt Langdon. Even if he is depth, that's a good take for year one. And then he works into a developmental project the rest of his tenure, we hope, here in Raleigh with us. A kid that was averaging, I think it was like 28 points a game in high school, not to mention in the Raleigh area. So you know the basketball is not a joke around these parts. It's a hoop state. And Raleigh has also been a hotbed for very high-level talent around here. So that's a kid that was getting it done at a high level in the high school ranks. I would love nothing more now than to see him develop at NC State and be potentially a weapon later on down the road for Will Wade. The second piece of this, so what you also saw trickle out onto the internet at late Wednesday night and into Thursday, there's a man by the name of Darion Williams, who is a forward for Texas Tech. This was a piece of some of that big developing news. So NC State, very much behind the scenes, has been in contact with Darion Williams. Darion Williams is going through the current NBA draft process, but this is where it gets interesting. If he elects to not continue with that process and return to the college level, I saw Kansas, Ohio State, and NC State are three teams expected to be in contention for his services. Darion Williams, let me just tell you now, that would be a big fish that you have been waiting to see. He was one of the best players for the Texas Tech Red Raiders this season. Ironically, just like this comment says here from Kevin, we did see him in that first-round tournament game last year in March Madness. I think he had like 10, 7, and 6 against us, which is a solid game every single day of the week. He is a high-level talent. I believe he averaged like 15 points a game in the Big 12 this season. If that is to happen, I think there's a lot of pieces that would have to fall exactly right for NC State to make this happen. But Kenton, if that does happen, you talk about making some waves.
And let's start off with the Langdon part of this. That's what I was saying in terms of his game could grow over years. This is not a one and done kid. This is not a none and done situation like we've seen in the past. We're expecting Langdon to grow here for some years, okay? He's got 4 years of eligibility left, people. 4. He could be an entirely different player. How many times have we seen guys grow into entirely different players than who they were coming in 4 years? So, that's absolutely a part of this. But again, Darion Williams would be a massive get. You talk about guys who can fill it up. He absolutely fits that description. And I'm not just talking about in terms of scoring. He can do a little bit of everything. I'd love to see him in the red and white for NC State.
The interesting part of that storyline to follow is how long that process would potentially take. Because if NC State can afford to wait that long, like I was saying the other day, perhaps all the patience that you've seen from Will Wade and Andrew Slater, it would present the situation where all of a sudden some of these bigger names that have been behind the scenes, now they walk through the portal, and who's the first guy they see once they walk through? American Gangster. Yeah. It's Will Wade. So this is where the patience potentially can pay off in a bigger way than many of us could ever imagine. Now, Kansas being a factor in this, that's certainly not nothing. We know the powerhouse that Kansas is and the pull that they have with high-level recruits. If I had to guess, Kansas would be our biggest competition for the services of Darion Williams. But another part is like, can Kansas afford to wait that long? If they're trying to assemble a roster in a quick amount of time, can they afford to wait potentially 3 to 4 more weeks? I don't know. I don't have the answers for that. Perhaps NC State right now doesn't quite either. But Darion Williams being linked to NC State, that is a very, very significant piece of news. Obviously, none of us at this point know if it will happen for sure. A lot of puzzle pieces would still have to fall together. But if that is to happen, that is one player that can completely change the trajectory of Will Wade in year one. So certainly something to keep your eyeballs on here in the coming weeks, because that would change a lot in year one. Second one here comes from Brian Cuddington. Do you people want people as fast as possible or really good players when the season starts? It's so ridiculous to even suggest panic at this moment. I think all of this encapsulated was summed up best by Kenton. I think it was like 1 or 2 episodes ago. It's better to do it right than to do it fast. The way that this staff and Will Wade has been patient and not overpaid and been irresponsible with the funding that they have and not panicking when they see some of these names fly off the board and not flying into like a panic mode when you lose a guy like Mackenzie Mbako that you are highly after. It's important the way that this staff has handled themselves here this whole time. And that's why we've suggested patience as often as we have. That's why we suggested that the staff should be trusted as often as we have. They know what they're doing. That's why they're the staff and the rest of us are the fans. It's their job, and they were brought here to do it right. This is the staff that we have dreamed of having at NC State. For all of us to fly into a frenzy and all of a sudden be skeptical of them in like literally a month's time, say that out loud and then still convince yourself that you should be panicking at this point in time. You shouldn't. Trust them. It's better to do it right than it is to do it fast.
Again, this is why when you asked me where my panic meter is at, I said a cool 3. Because at the end of the day, it's like, well, damn, it is looking tough to accomplish the goals that, Will Wade had set out for himself in year one. But even still, I'm not sold that he can't do it with, some pieces that are still remaining in the portal and whatnot. There's no need. There's no need to really trip about this situation in terms of, things feeling quiet in the portal. Because, again, it is that alignment, Do you want to be the first person to get a guy, or do you want to get the guy that wants to be at your university and that you really want at your university? It's not just about, oh, well, we offered him, so, this is the guy and everybody else be damned. No, it's about, is this the perfect marriage? Is this good? Is this something that'll work out for us? So I 1,000% agree. Too early to start panicking.
Next one comes from Chicken Chinkin. It says, so what is our update on Trey Parker? Is he staying or is he leaving? And I think this is an interesting situation because now you're getting Trey Parker posting somewhat cryptic Instagram stories of him still in the Dale Center. He had the spinning hourglass emoji going on one of his stories on Thursday. I still don't think there's a definitive answer one way or the other on this, but I will leave you with this. I don't think it's nothing that you haven't seen Trey Parker take any public visits to any other program. He's still here in Raleigh, clearly. He's posting eyeball emojis when NC State is linked to James Scott from Louisville the other night. I would tend to believe that things look like, at least on the surface, that he's leaning on staying here and rejoining NC State, but I still think that is a situation to monitor here moving forward. So I don't have an answer for you here on Friday, but, based on the way things are looking, he might be sticking around, Kenton.
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, we'd love to have Trey Parker back. The decision is in his hands. Obviously, he's in the portal right now, but we've seen plenty of players enter the portal and return to their original school as their landing spot. So sometimes the best gets are keeping who you already got. Trey Parker would definitely fall in that category, but we shall see.
It goes without saying we would love to keep him here with the level of talent that is still yet to be unlocked in Trey Parker. I'm sure we would all love nothing more than to see that done right here in Raleigh. And last one comes from Mal. Shout out to Mal. She says, I'm keeping absolutely zero expectations about the football team. Yeah, it sucks that Kamal Bonner is leaving, but I refuse to decide just how bad it is for us until we see some fall action. Last year in the preseason, expectations broke me. Maybe the linebackers are dirt. Maybe the law of the wolf kicks in. Que sera, sera. I'm with you, Mal. And I think moving forward for NC State football fans, I think the best expectations you can have are probably zero expectations. I don't think it's worth at this point to convince yourself one way or the other the way that this season's going to go. I don't think you should be expecting like a 3-9 season, but I don't know if you should expect anything more than like a 7-5 season either. So if I were you, I would sit somewhere right in the middle. And obviously with the media being shut out of spring football and no televised spring game, although I did watch the ACC special kind of a behind-the-scenes look at NC State spring football that they had. Doesn't really give you a whole lot outside of C.J. Bailey and Hollywood Smothers are taking leaps and bounds in leadership. But what will this team be? Kenton and I have been hearing some things behind the scenes, but it's only here in late April. There's certainly some things that can change between now and opening week kickoff. But I think the best solution for NC State fans moving forward, which is not exactly a foreign concept either, keep your expectations to little or nothing.
Listen, when I look at this, I have a very simple thing that I have said from the beginning in terms of predictions for this team next year. This team will either win 8 or more games or 5 or less. That 6 to 7 games, there is something in me telling me that is not happening. No way, no how for this team. I am not sure. I cannot pinpoint which one it will be. But I know you can book it now. This team will not win 6 or 7 games next year. This team, with the way that their schedule is set up, either they're going to come out of the gates hot as fish grease, win the games that they should early, and parlay that into wait a minute, these teams in the ACC, because I've said this before looking around the ACC, and I'll say it again. I think next year is going to be a really down year for the ACC in terms of football. With that being said, we don't have a schedule that's packed to the gills with world beaters where I'm like, oh my God, there is what are we going to do here? This team could very well find themselves in that 8+ win range. The problem is, if you start this season off with a loss to East Carolina University. I know they hate when I call them Eastern.
You had it right the first time.
If you start off the season with a loss to them, you are setting a terrible tone for your year. And I'm not sure if this team is old enough, mature enough, has the foundation in a way that they can overcome such a thing. So, we'll see. But I agree with Mal. Go into it with no expectations. That way you can't be let down.
Shout out to Zendaya, just because I want to shout out Zendaya. That will do it for us here on Friday and for the week. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us your thoughts on Colt Langdon coming back home to play for the NC State Wolfpack. And potentially Terrence Arseno will be the next commitment to join him. We'll keep our fingers crossed and our eyes peeled for that over the course of Friday and for the weekend. Pac-9 baseball, a massive Game 1 win over Clemson, but the work is not done here. Pack the Doak on Friday, pack the Doak on Saturday. We have got to find a way to finish off this series. Anything else you have on your mind, drop that in the comment box as well. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here on Monday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.